Welcome back, learners. We have been discussing from Block 3, Unit 4 on empowerment of tribals. We will be continuing with the same topic. In this session, we are going to discuss the empowerment occurred after the independence, that is the post-independence period. We all know the founding father of the Indian Constitution aimed to establish just society by developing and empowering all the communities, including scheduled tribes. This is dawned to the fact that certain communities are suffering from different disabilities and they require certain positive assistance for their empowerment. To put it differently, they desire to secure justice, social, economic, and political for all citizens. Guided by this understanding, Indian Constitution enshrines a number of important provisions for the empowerment of scheduled tribes. The preamble of the Indian Constitution states justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote fraternity among them all, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So, the objective of delivering justice in social, economic and political spheres and equality of opportunity are particularly relevant to the tribals, and these provisions correspond to the adoption of different executive and legislative measures for their empowerment. In other words, it is designed not only for political empowerment but also for economic and social empowerment. Article 46 directs the state to take special care of the educational and economic interest of the weaker sections of the people, and in particular of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. As this can be seen, this article of the Constitution makes it obligatory for the state to make action to ameliorate the conditions of the weaker sections, including the backward classes. They are twofold: to promote with special care the educational and economic interest by taking positive measures, and to prevent social injustice and all forms of exploitation by taking preventive measures. Central to this directive and other related provisions is reservation, which is a package of constitutional provisions, and they are intended follow-up programs for the social advancement of weaker sections. Thus, the present policy with regard to the tribal population has two dimensions. Firstly, to bring them into the mainstream of national life, and at the same time to maintain their distinctive characteristics of their tribal identity. These provisions have apparently empowered the tribals to protect their legitimate rights and accelerated their socio-economic development. In India, the provisions in the Constitution have a threefold purpose: remedial, that is to remove social and religious disabilities of certain specified groups suffering disabilities on account of their segregation and spatial and cultural isolation; promotive, that is to facilitate and promote equal participation with others of all socially disabled and disadvantaged groups in organized sectors of the country's economic and social life; and protective, that is to protect if necessary through legislative actions and executive orders this group from all forms of social injustice and exploitation. In other words, the main provisions of the Indian Constitution to empower scheduled tribes can be understood under three heads. Firstly, through the protective measures, then through positive discrimination measures, and finally the developmental measures. Let us look into the various measures one by one. First, talking about the protective measures. The policy in which various welfare measures and provisions pertaining to protect the interest of historically disadvantaged sections have been incorporated is known as protective discrimination. Protective measures have been taken for welfare of scheduled tribes like rights over forest produce, shifting cultivation, discouraging bonded labor, rehabilitation of displaced families, land alienation, etc. The main thrust of the constitutional safeguards is on protective legislation, preparing the tribals of availing of opportunities of development and formulation and execution of appropriate development schemes. The Indian state has set up different institutional bodies to empower the scheduled tribes. Their interests have been protected by different legal measures such as the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989, which came into force in January 1990. The reason behind the emergence of the Act is despite various measures to improve the socio-economic conditions of SCs and STs, they remain vulnerable. They are denied of civil rights. They are subjected to various offences, indignities, humiliation and harassment. They have in several brutal incidents been deprived of their life and property. Serious crimes are committed against them for various historical, social and economic reasons. In 1990, Government of India constituted the Commission for SCs and STs with wide-ranging powers and functions to address and protect the specific rights of SCs and STs. To give specific orientation and emphasis to both SCs and STs separately, the Commission was split into National Commission for SCs and the National Commission for STs. In addition, the different states have set up the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Research Training Institutes to look at different dimensions of tribal societies in India. The Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Research and Training Institutes, an organization of the Welfare Department, functions with the primary objective of conducting research and surveys as well as imparting training besides undertaking the preparation of action plan on specific tribal communities and scheduled castes. These legal measures aim to safeguard different rights of scheduled tribes which also contribute to the empowerment of this community. Now let us look at what are the positive discrimination measures. The positive discrimination measures are known as reservation policy in India. Reservations are the Indian version of quota system, a legal provision that guarantees a minimum presence in various institutions to scheduled tribes. Different expressions are used to signify the policy of reservation, for instance, protective discrimination, reverse discrimination, positive affirmative action, preferential treatment, etc. The rationale of reservation policy for scheduled tribes is based on the upliftment and empowerment principle. There are three types of provisions in Indian Constitution under positive discrimination policy: reservation in educational institutions, reservation of service and posts in the government services, and political reservation. Now let us see in detail what are the reservation in education. Education is the most effective instrument of social and economic empowerment of the tribals in India. The Indian state thus made an attempt to bring the educational development of the tribals through the policy of reservation. Under the original constitution, preferential treatments were in the field of government employment and legislative representation. A new clause 15(4) to the effect that nothing in this article or clause 2 of the article 29 shall prevent the state from making any special provision for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens or for the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes was added in 1951 by the First Amendment. The object of this clause is to bring Articles 15 and 29 in line with Articles 16(4), 4(6) and 340 to make it constitutional for the state to reserve seats for STs in the public educational institutions, as well as to make special provisions as may be necessary for their advancement. Articles 15, 16 and 19 make it possible, while legislating on any matter, to take into consideration the special conditions of tribals in the matter of enforcing the provisions relating to the equality of all citizens. In short, pursuing the ideal of non-discrimination in a democracy necessitated their inclusion in public services. So, there is a reservation of 7.5% of the scheduled tribes, which is believed to be based on the proportion to their numbers. The same percentage of seats is applicable to all these three spheres such as education, politics and employment. The collective and uninterrupted impact of positive measures explores the considerable progress in the field of education. When we examine different census reports such as 1961, 71, 81, 91 and 2001, it provides a pleasing statistics because the general literacy rate has increased little more than thrice from 1961 to 2001, while the tribal literacy rate has increased more than 5 times from 1961 to 2001. The reservation in educational institutions empowers the individuals, tribals, by expanding the choices of their living. The state has been empowered to reserve posts for scheduled tribes along with scheduled castes as are not adequately represented in services of the state under Article 16(4) of the Constitution. Mark Galanter has described this provision of Indian Constitution as a matter not only of private ambition but of group advancement. This is because the employment in the private sector has been severely limited. Scheduled tribes depend upon the government for employment in the upper reaches of government services is often used as a measure of advancement and security. Due to the preferences in the services, the tribals have been represented to the public sector periodically, though the statistics do not show the desired result, otherwise that would have been lacking. Now let us look into the political reservation. In other words, all these positive provisions aim to make the tribals present in the public sphere, which they were lacking during the pre-colonial period. Accordingly, total of 38 and 282 seats are reserved for the STs in the Lok Sabha and the state assemblies respectively. The provision of reservation really empowers the tribals politically and gives a political voice to them that traditionally had little say in the political process. Affirmative discrimination through reservation for STs in the Lok Sabha, state legislative assemblies and in the Panchayat Raj institutions has established the growing strength of STs not only in terms of their participation in the democratic processes of the country since independence, but also increased their representation in the political decision making institutions, that is parliament, legislative assemblies and in the grassroots democratic institutions, namely panchayats and local bodies. Consequently, there are these scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006 and PESA are the examples of laws that have been enacted because of the political presence of the tribals. These provisions are of the paramount importance so far as the empowerment of the tribals is concerned. Now let us look at the developmental measures. The Government of India has also adopted number of developmental measures for the development of the vulnerable tribal communities of India. The various developmental initiatives taken for all-round development of the tribals include adaptation of tribal subplan, integrated tribal development agencies, cooperative and LAMS societies, small farmers, development projects, modified area development approach, dispersed tribal development program, micro projects for the development of primitive tribal groups, etc. Besides these, there are provisions in the Constitution that empower the state to bring the area inhabited by the tribals under the 5th and 6 schedules of the Constitution for the purpose of special treatment with respect to the administration of the tribal people. The objective of these schedules is to empower the tribals by declaring scheduled areas on the basis of tribal concentration and thus creating the autonomous and district councils respectively. These schedules aim to safeguard, protect and promote the interest of the tribal communities in India. Now let us look at the Panchayat Raj institutions and the scheduled tribes. Exploring the evidence of lack of adequate representation of tribals in the local decision making process owing to the dominance of the privileged groups, the Indian state adopted the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1993. The process of tribal empowerment was initiated in India through the landmark provision of reserving 1/3 of seats for tribals at the local self-government. The commitment towards popular participation in governance at the local level has been reinforced through recent policies of affirmative action, which have given an opportunity to hitherto marginalized and discriminated tribal groups to express their voice and have a say in the making of policies that affect them. Various measures of affirmative action following the enactment of the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1993 opened a new chapter in the history of democratic decentralization in India by devolving power to the people. The increased importance of participation in the panchayats through policies of affirmative action has necessarily increased the number of scheduled tribes in rural political institutions of India. The provision of affirmative action under Article 243D of the Indian Constitution has provided the much needed opportunity for the vulnerable tribals in India to actively participate in the decision making process of their locality through political rights. The tribal communities of India participate in the PRIs in the following ways: as voters, as candidates, as members of political parties, as elected members of PRIs, taking part in decision making, planning, implementation and evaluation. The major promise of democratic decentralization is that it brings popular participation and accountability to local governance and therefore makes local governance more responsive to citizens' desire and more effective in delivering services. Thus, the local self-government is essentially by giving them not only the voice but the power of choice, as well as in order to shape the development which they feel as appropriate to their situation. Now let us see the Panchayat extension to the Scheduled Areas Act 1996. The rights of tribals over local resources were considered sacrosanct and non-negotiable, and there was a growing need from all corners of the country to secure constitutional recognition to these rights. So this aspect was grossly neglected under the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. This act does not apply to the Schedule 5 and 6 areas of Assam, Tripura, Meghalaya and Mizoram, state of Nagaland, hill areas of the state of Manipur for which district council exists. And the recognition process started with the constitution of Buria Committee. Buria Committee looked at the issue of tribal rights over resources in the fixed scheduled areas. Based on the recommendations of the committee, the Indian Parliament passed a separate legislation in the year 1996 as an annexure to the 73rd Amendment specifying special provision for panchayats in the 5th scheduled areas. With the objective of safeguarding and preserving the traditions and customs of the people living in the 5th scheduled areas, their social, religious and cultural identities and traditional management practices of community resources. Therefore, the Government of India enacted the Panchayat extension of the Scheduled Areas Act in the year 1996, which came into force on December 24, 1996. It recognized the traditional rights of tribals over community resources such as land, water and forest. This act is applicable to 5th schedule areas of 8 states such as Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, now divided into Jharkhand and Bihar, Gujarat, Himachal Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, now divided into Chhattisgarh and MP, Maharashtra, Orissa and Rajasthan. The distinguishing feature of this act is to recognize the traditional structures of self-governance in the tribal areas and to transform them into units of local self-government, particularly through the Gram Sabha. Let us look at the salient features of this act. The state legislation on the panchayats has to be in consonance with the customary laws, social and religious practices and the traditional management practices of community resources and dispute resolution. The community is the center of Gram Sabha. The Gram Sabha has been conferred with the power of approval of the plans, programs and projects for social and economic development, selection of beneficiaries for poverty alleviation and being consulted for land acquisition for projects, control over minor water bodies, minerals and forest produce, enforcing prohibition, management of local markets, check on moneylenders, etc. This act intends to enable tribal society to assume control over their own destiny, to preserve and conserve their traditional rights over natural resources. With PESA, an effort was made to vest legislative powers in the Gram Sabha to manage community resources and to resolve disputes according to the customs and traditions of the people. This significant legislation was expected to have far-reaching consequences in the social, economic and cultural life of tribal people in scheduled areas. All the scheduled states were given 1 year to amend their respective panchayat acts to conform to the letter and spirit of PESA. Therefore, it acts as a catalyst of empowering scheduled tribes of scheduled areas to preserve and conserve their traditional resources, which are an integral part of their livelihood. Now, we will move on to the Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act 2006. The current regulatory and legislative framework on forest and tribals are criticized empowerment of tribals as inadequate. Local people have less access to benefit sharing for conservation, although they are to a large extent dependent on the resources in conservation areas. On 13 December 2005, the Ministry for Tribal Affairs introduced the Scheduled Tribes Bill 2005 into Parliament to recognize and vest the forest rights and occupation in forest land in forest dwelling scheduled tribes who have been residing in such forests for generations but whose rights could not be recorded, and to provide for a framework for recording the forest rights so vested and the nature of evidence required for such recognition and vesting in respect of forest land. The Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006, adopted by the Lok Sabha, is a landmark legislation that seeks to empower traditional forest dwelling communities by giving them security of tenure, access to minor forest produce and a big stake in the preservation of natural spaces. Learners, in this session we have discussed the empowerment of tribal communities in the post-independence period. We also discussed the main provisions of the Indian Constitution to empower the scheduled tribes. In the subsequent sessions, we will be discussing the process of disempowerment. Happy learning. Thank you.